What is up guys, Jack Gardiner here. Today we are going to be checking out two products from a company called Xvive. Now these are both wireless units. One is the U2 guitar wireless system and the other is the U4 wireless in-ear monitor system. Xvive recently reached out to me and asked was there anything in their line or range that I would like to check out, and these two were the ones that stuck out to me immediately. Now in this demo video we're going to be looking at both the wireless guitar system and the wireless in-ear monitor system. It's a bit of a, two-in-one. I'm essentially going to test the range of these things, but I think the best place to start is with the wireless in-ear monitor system, the U4. Now, quick word on wireless in-ear monitor systems. They're pretty much commonplace all the time now when we play live. When we were just on tour the other month supporting Pliny, every single band member and every band was on wireless in-ear monitor systems. In the modern world, I think having a silent stage is really, really good if you want to get nice balances with your mixers out front. It also saves your ears a little bit. If you're using custom molds, you've got protection there. Another thing is that if you are using backing tracks and you have the need for, say, click tracks at the beginning of those, then you need in-ear monitors. You can't be blaring a click track through, wedge monitors on a stage. It's just not going to happen. So I will say it is super common, and also it makes for a cleaner looking stage as well. So I think it's logical that we start off first with this U4 set. So what do you get in the box? Well, with both of these, they both come with these kind of travel cases, and they are super compact. You stick a label on them, off you go to a gig. It's nice and easy. In the U4, we get the transmitter, the receiver, and there is a XLR to jack connector, which is very useful. It's going to come in handy later. I'll explain more. And then you get a USB charging cable, which is essentially like USB to 2 micro USB cables. A little bit more on the power situation later. When I demo the wireless guitar system, I am going to be using my in-ear monitors to monitor myself, especially when we move out of this room. So it's worth just pointing out that this is what I'm going to be using for all of the playing aspects today. Now what you get is this basically transmitter and receiver. Now, they are super compact and they feel really robust to me, I must point out, especially considering the price point on these. But with the transmitter then, it's pretty simple. You just have a power on, and then you have the option of line or aux over here, and there is a channel option. So there are 6 available channels. This is running over 2.4 gigahertz, I believe, pretty industry standard. And then there is an XLR connection on the top. If you want to use a jack connection, they do provide you with that, which is really handy because today I'm going to be using the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. I'm going to plug that out of output 3 on the back there, and there is a jack connector. So really, really handy. Now on the receiver then, essentially you have the belt buckle attachment here, so that clips onto your belt. You have the power on the top, and you have the headphone, the mini jack connector, which is pretty much standard for all kind of in-ear monitors. So you power this thing on the left-hand side, or your left, my right. You have the volume control here, and then you have the channel selector here. You just click that button and it will cycle through all of these available channels. So if I'm on channel 1, I make sure that this is on channel 1 too on the transmitter, and then jobs are good. And you plug this in and you should have audio coming out of your in-ear monitors. Now, it's worth pointing out that if you have multiple people in a band using these, then they could share that same channel if you'd like the same mix. Say you take out of one aux channel and all you need is that one mix, then this works great. Basically, everyone would set their receivers and transmitters to go, their receivers to just go to channel 1. Now, you could have, I guess, then up to 6 different mixes in the same room if everyone's got one of these devices, which is really cool and really handy. I mean, that should be enough for most bands. I will say, other than, say, using this live, where I can see this coming in handy is if, say, like me, you've got a little baby or you live in an apartment complex, then practicing silently is definitely a huge kind of must. And this enables for that if I'm using in-ear monitors rather than my monitors back there. say late at night, then this is genius. Another thing, I guess, where you could see this being used where people are sharing the same channel is, say, like in a presentation environment, if everyone needs to hear the same feed. That's one kind of example that I could think of. But anyway, the pros then to this is obviously the price point, how compact it is and how robust it is. I just want to talk about two potential cons. This is in mono, so for a lot of people out there that won't matter at all. A lot of musicians don't mind hearing things in mono in their in-ears, but for me, just out of past experience, when we were on the Pliny tour just gone, our wireless transmitters and receivers actually got left behind in Paris at one point, and so we had to borrow another set of transmitters and receivers, and they were in mono as opposed to stereo, which we were using before. And honestly, for me, that just felt a little bit more difficult to play. Maybe I'm just being really nerdy there, but I really like to hear that separation and the stereo spread of, say, delays and, you know, the reverb, things like this. Being able to pan things left and right, say you want the click in the left ear or backing track in the right ear, etc. That is just one thing that, for me personally, I would miss using, say, something like this. But at this price point, I don't think you're going to find any kind of wireless in-ear systems that are going to be in stereo. The other potential pro for some and con for others is the way in which these things are powered. So there are no batteries involved. It's all powered via USB. So a lot of people might think, great, that's amazing. I always have USB chargers with me. You know, it saves the need to go out and buy batteries or have an expensive kind of, you know, rechargeable battery system. The only thing where I could see that being a con is, say you turn up to a venue and you've forgotten to charge these things. They basically take 1.5 up to 2.5 hours to charge. So you could be sat around waiting for that time for this to be working. There's no quick fix of just, like, say, putting another battery in. But at the same time, you know, is that good for the environment? I don't know. There's lots of like pros, I would say, for that. The other thing is worth pointing out is that these last for 5 hours. So that's well enough time, unless you're playing like a 6-hour gig, that's well enough time on stage for these to last. The only kind of con about that, I suppose, is that very often people leave these things on. I know a lot of people when we were on tour were guilty of that and would have to change batteries just before we go on to play, or they ran the risk of it dying midway through the set. So, you know, that's one thing, is to make sure that you would be turning these off. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting for that hour and a half minimum for them to have enough charge again. But other than that, I mean, for this price point, these are absolutely good value for money. The size of them, the way that they feel, and the audio quality, it's just a big win in my eyes anyway. So what I think we should do is plug this in, and then we'll take a look at the U2 wireless guitar system and check out what kind of distance we can get on these. I'm also gonna give you an example of what it sounds like as opposed to a wired system. Bear in mind, whenever we're using anything wireless, we are gonna get latency. It's one thing I should point out about these is that it says that we get about 5 milliseconds of latency, and other demo videos I've seen on YouTube kind of prove this. Tom Quayle, my old teacher, shout out to him. He did a really in-depth explanation of that with the U2 wireless transmitter. So without further ado, let's get into the U2 and talk about that for a second, and let's get playing. So now that I've got my wireless in-ear monitor system hooked up, I've got my in-ears plugged in here, let's talk about the U2 wireless guitar system. So essentially what you get in the box is the receiver and the transmitter and the USB cable to power this thing or to charge it. Now in terms of its design, it's super sleek, it's very little, and it feels very robust. It's very simple to use. That's what I love about this thing. You basically got an on button, and then you have a channel option here. Now there are 4 channels on the U2 system, and in order to change which channel you are on, you click the channel button and it will blink. That tells you which channel you're on. So it blinked once then. If I click it again, it'll blink 2 times, click it again 3 times, and then click it again 4 times. And then we're going to go back to basically channel 1. It's just super easy to use. You basically plug in one of these into your guitar amp and one into the guitar. Now, in terms of the connectivity then, we've got this like rotating jack that comes out here, and that will fit most guitars. If I plug it in here, basically, I can have it lock on to the body of the guitar this way, or I can spin this way. It's totally up to you. They come in different colors and stuff, so if you've got one which you want to match a certain guitar, I'm sure you'll find one. Black just works cool for me. I don't need any fancy colors, but essentially that is pretty much it. You just plug that into your guitar and you plug the other one into the amplifier or wherever you're using it. In this instance, I am using the Neural DSP Quad Cortex, so I plug the other one into the input. Now, essentially, you just have to match the channels and it should be jobs are good, and it's as easy as that. The only thing I will point out that's maybe a slight con is that this does not fit all styles of guitar. It fits most of them, but if say you've got a recessed jack here, I believe that can be kind of difficult, so maybe not perfect for you, but most guitars it's going to work with. Now, in terms of the audio quality then, I mean, it's pretty much standard at this kind of price point. The other thing to point out again is that you will get, I think, about 5 or 6 milliseconds of delay, but that is just typical using wireless stuff. So what we're going to do is check out some sound examples. I'm going to do a bit of playing, both wired and with the wireless system, so you can decide for yourself what sounds better, if there is even a difference between that audio quality. I don't think there is in reality. It's very hard for our ears to tell unless you're a kind of crazy production guy. I don't think you'll hear the difference. But yeah, I'll do that just in case for you, and then we'll take a little wander into the other room, and hopefully you can see that even over distances this works. This should work around 90 meters, at least that's what Xvive's saying. I believe it's the same with the U4. So let's give this a go. Let's check out some playing. Okay, so now we're going to do something a little bit silly, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how this works in the real world. So what I'm going to do is leave this recording here. I'm going to take the iPhone at the same time, and we're going to go outside onto my balcony. It will be a little bit darker, it's nighttime here, but I'm going to show you that this still records even when we travel a distance. So I'm going to start on the iPhone recording. I'm going to take this outside, and you'll probably switch over to the iPhone audio. Apologies for the mess. We have 2 little kids at the minute, 1 little baby boy, and here we go outside onto the balcony. It's pretty dark, like I say, but I'm gonna leave the phone just here, play again, and hopefully it's still perfectly well. That pretty much sums up all of my kind of thoughts on how you could potentially use these. I think that these are great value for money, especially if you've got a more limited budget. Both the U2 system and the U4 system are great pieces of kit, especially if you're just starting to get into this wireless world. Maybe someone out there, you just want to test the waters and see what it's like before investing in something a lot more expensive. This would be the way to go, I would suggest. I mean, they are very robust and the audio quality is perfectly fine for me, both in the in-ears and in the wireless guitar recording. What did you guys think? Are the Xvive products something that you have been checking out? I'd love to know your thoughts, please let me know down below in the comments. My name is Jack Gardiner. Check out the Xvive U2 and U4 wireless systems for guitar and for in-ear monitors. Till next time.